And that prepared me to get on stage in front of 20,000 people the first time I never heard that.
Talk us through that. I mean, you can't mention that and we can't hear more about it. So you're preparing to step out in front of a stadium crowd. How do you mentally prepare for something like that?
He drinks a lot.
What an honour it is to be sitting with the legendary Earl Slick.
Oh,
How are you today?
legendary.
Of course. Taking it right back to the start, like what was that first inspiration when you heard guitar for the first time that really struck a chord with you emotionally?
Stones.
Okay.
The Stones. It was Keith's solo on what? Still over now. Damn it! It's one of the best solos to this day ever. And then some Keith's acoustic stuff too on the first record. And then the slide stuff, Brian Jones, that stuff resonated, and that's when I did my homework, my history.
Okay.
Because I used to read the liner notes. No, remember when we used to have records, right? And I go, this Willie Dixon, Morganfield, and well, who the hell are these guys? And I find it's Warrich, it's all these other guys on there, and so I started buying their records. Then when I was buying those, I started finding stuff like Fred McDowell and Lightning Hopkins and stuff. So, I mean, but the Stones started that for me. Over the years, I've run into some of these guys that have actually done stuff with them. With Chuck Berry.
Tell us about that.
Oh my God. I don't know how this happened. Somehow I met his keyboard player, who was also his lawyer. I don't know. So
Save us some money.
I was on tour, the last Dolls tour they ever did. I was on tour with the Dolls, and we played in St. Louis. So I told my buddy Bob Lohr, piano player, I said, "We're going to be in town. You got to come to the show." I was like, "Can't." I said, "Why?" He said, "I'm doing a gig with Chuck." I said, "Where?" At his club in St. Louis. I said, "Go." I said, "What time?" She starts at 11. I finished at 8:30. Ordered a car, shot to the because I said, "Well, how's this happening?" He goes, "I talked to Chuck and he wants you to come and play." And I ended up doing a whole set with him.
How was he as a person?
Oh, a lot nicer than I would have thought.
Yeah.
We sat in the dressing room and I asked him some questions about some of the stuff he did. He was really cool and he gave me his best of CD and he signed it and we played. Yeah. Because I was expecting, you've heard the stories, I hope I don't get a black eye from this shit, It's great though. And his son Chuck was playing rhythm. Because at that point, Chuck was kind of he was getting ill.
Okay.
His brain was going a bit. So his son, Charles, would cover the bits,
Yeah.
And Ingrid, his daughter, who plays amazing harp, would get up and sing some songs. We had a blast. We did it at the Duck Room at his club.
Incredible. Growing up in New York, I can only imagine how influential the city was at that time for music and the vibe around. Paint a picture of what it was like growing up in that time and how much the city had an impact on how you grew as a musician.
The community there was amazing because you had, it was when I first started going to the city a lot, play and hang out, it was that transition when things started to go into the sort of Bowie T-Rex androgyny thing and the Dolls and all that.
Yeah.
And there was a place called Masters, Kansas City. Everybody hung out. If you walked in there any given night, you see Andy Warhol, David Bowie, Lou Reed. It was, and we had a whole group of guys, and we all used to hang out. You'd run the guys in the studio. There was so many times I'd be recording something, be in the lobby, and what are you doing? I'm recording. When are you going to be done? I said, about 2 hours ago, we need a solo. You know what I mean? It was that, kind of a thing. And the clubs too, I mean, it's different here in the UK, but now in the States, most of the rock clubs are gone, even the small pub ones. And when you go, you're required to bring people.
Sure. You might even need to pay to
Oh,
play.
you do?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, when I was 17 or 18, I was making $250 a week. That's a long time ago. Now, I mean, if they get lucky and they pay the whole band $100, which isn't even £100, right? You're talking about like 70 something dollars, and nobody comes.
Yeah.
The good thing back then is that people interacted in person. Now all social interactions are happening through social media.
Yeah.
I mean, so the clubs, the rock clubs, because the nights we weren't playing, we'd go see our buddies that were playing down the road and we jammed. It was so fucking cool. It was basically rock and roll 24 hours a day.
And just pure inspiration all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And that prepared me to get on stage in front of 20,000 people the first time. I never heard that.
Talk us through that. I mean, you can't mention that and we can't hear more about it. So you're preparing to step out in front of a stadium crowd. How do you mentally prepare for something like that?
He drinks a lot. We were always high, but even at that, I don't care how high you get, you still get nerves. But no, we rehearsed for the first tour I did with David. We rehearsed for a long time. So by the time we got there, it was comfortable. I wasn't scared. I was like, wow. I got wowed.
Yeah.
I got wowed.
That's it. But he has that confidence that you're going to deliver.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
just lead you to.
Didn't have to worry about that.
Now, you're back with some more incredible guitars, with Slick guitars. You've been working with these guys for a little while now. Talk us through how this partnership came to be.
It started with straps, with guitar straps, where everyone happens to be. I got bored. I just come off a tour and I found a bunch of straps, brand new. Companies will give you this stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I got to, I started getting interested in art. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll do some of these things. So I started painting them and, messing around with them. And I loved the distressed look thing. So I started to do all this wall work on them. And I went to a few companies and, I didn't get much of a reaction. I did get one offer that was so bad. But so Jay Avend, who put together a company called Guitar Fetish a good 25 years ago, he started with, he sells parts,
Right.
You can buy a screw, you can buy a neck, you can buy pickups, you can buy all this stuff. Then he makes guitars as well. And I had a dear friend of mine, I had some guitar stolen, and he felt bad. So one day he comes to me, he hands me this guitar. He built from scratch.
Okay.
And he didn't paint it. He said, you know what? You do that. So took all the stuff off of it, painted it, I beat it up a little bit, painted some shit on it. It was really cool. And Jay from the Truck Face loved it. So I said, maybe we should start doing guitars at a distressed. This is before anybody else was doing it. You can't compete with, when Fender's doing this kind of stuff once they started doing it. But that's how it all started. So he said, let's make a slick guitar that is affordable, but can be played and has got good parts there. And because I met him years ago when he was artist relations for Guild, he knows how to wind pickups. He knows what's going on. So, because I wasn't going to put my name on something that was going to either not playable or
You want to play them on the road.
this is one of the first ones, this one here. This one I leave in England. That way I always have it when I'm here. I don't have to carry it with me. So, they've been made great from the beginning.
Of course, you played so many different guitars over the years for different projects and sessions and what have you. In terms of specifications on these guitars, what were your sort of must-haves in terms of neck profiles, pickups?
The pickups, what we wanted to do was I didn't want to reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
I said, you know what? Let's make these pickups the way they should be made. So if it's a Strat pickup,
Yeah.
or a Tele pickup, let's do that. And then we did some variations, as Fender does. They all do variations.
Yeah.
So it was to have properly wound pickups, right? And also the pots and stuff, that could make or break it. Spend a couple of more pennies, put good pots in them. And then the brass for the tuning has these things You know, after a while, tuning heads will either get really, really stiff or really loose.
Okay.
All right, you know that one. Of
course.
They don't do that. They're the same.
That's it.
And then this one doesn't have it, but a lot of the Tellys and the other ones, the Gibson seat, they got the brass, which is also for sound wise.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted the necks to be playable. Yeah, because in the '80s, a lot of companies, especially because with the wanky metal guys, the necks
Sort of thin.
they were flat and really wide. I think, you know, a lot of guys don't play like that. I sure don't. So we made basically an easy to play neck. We used a lot of ash, you know. The weight
Yeah.
is one thing that was important. The lighter the wood, if you pick up an old Fender, you'll notice that the Tellys and even the Strats don't weigh a lot. Some of that is they lose weight just from moisture, but it's the wood that they used. And if the guitar rings more, especially a Fender style guitar, as the sound is.
Well, it speaks to, you know, your dedication over the years to finding the exact tones. I mean, especially when you've worked with so many different artists in different sessions and you've needed very varied sounds on different albums. Was there a point early on, do you ever remember a sort of early session where you arrived and then with the gear that you had, you sort of felt, I don't know whether I've got the right sound for this?
Yeah, and I'd leave. I'm that serious.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they would call the wrong guy, you know. I work with people to a point, but when they totally got, sometimes what they'll do is you'll get a guy and he's making a solo record and he loves the David Bowie band.
Oh, okay.
Right? So we're there for the name. And then you go in there and the music is just like, dude, I don't know what to do. So when this would happen, because there's some other guitar players that I work with, either in New York or even the Bowie band, I say, you know what, you call this guy, he's the right guy. We should do it for each other. Because, you know, I don't want to go in there and try to fake my way through something that I'm not comfortable with. Because it's not going to sound right. And they're not going to get their money's worth.
Just talking about your solo music, because next year will be 50 years since your debut solo album, which is quite hard to believe.
I'll be very frank about this. That record was produced by Harry Maslin, right? Originally, we did demos with Mick Ronson. Well, because he didn't have a reputation yet, Capitol wouldn't want to produce it. No, so it made it funny that he quits. I get the gig and we're best friends. It was hysterical.
Was that just by chance?
Just by chance. Just by chance. And so we did the record. It was a good record. And it was all the guys I was in a band with before I got with David. And I thought I had my shot. They should have their shot. They weren't ready for it.
Okay.
And then the band lasted 2 records and that was it. You know, it was, you know, if you're going to do this, I don't even know if there's any such thing as a balance, especially at the beginning. I mean, if you've got a kid and a wife at home and stuff and, you know, you're never there. So some of the guys, you know, they weren't cut out for the road. It just fell apart. I liked the second one better, the one we did here, with the one we did in Battersea with John Alcott, who did the Thin Lizzy records.
Right.
I like that record better.
Getting more to the sound.
Yeah, it was more to what I wanted, yeah. The first one that we did, and it wasn't Harry's fault, the record company softened it up.
Okay.
And the second one, I put my foot down and we just, you know, we did good. It sold more too.
What was your rig like for those first 2 albums, the gear that you were using, you know, guitars and amps?
So, okay, I was still using Marshalls on everything. And I was starting to use Les Pauls a lot more and my SG a lot more. I still did use Strats. I wasn't using Tellys at the time, but there's some Strat stuff on there, but I'm using a lot of Les Paul.
And just what you mentioned, Mick Ronson, because obviously it's incredible how things like that can happen. Of all the 2 people to get together,
I know.
you know, was there ever any discussion over? Because it seemed like at the time for him it was.
Hell, we talked. Yeah, damn straight we talked about it.
Anything you can share?
Well, because I ended up in the same boat as he did not too long after he did, because I quit too.
Yeah, but you forgave him in the end.
yeah, I did. But yeah, it was funny. Yeah. Because so after I'd left the band, and you know, we'd commiserate about it and whatever. Yeah.
And getting that initial call from Bowie, how did that come to be?
They came. It was just a fluke. In my autobiography, you know, dedicated to a guy named Michael Kamen, who was a very influential New York musician. He was a Juilliard graduate. and he was starting to score like blowing films and Broadway stuff. And Bowie had gone to Joffrey Ballet that Michael scored, and he wanted to meet the guy that did the score, and Mick had just quit. So Bowie asked him, do you know a guy? And then because I've been working with Michael mentioned my name. That's how I got it.
And that was it.
That was it.
I'm assuming you were a fan before.
No, I was playing rock and roll and blues, you know.
So it wasn't really your band.
I had one record. I had Lad Insane because he had a couple of bluesy, like, Panic Detroit is Bo Diddley all the way, right? And then Genie. I mean, come on, man. We're right in Muddy area and all that. So it was mixed guitar stuff on that record, but that's the only one I own. So when I got the gig, I was in total panic mode, running around buying Bowie records and borrowing Bowie records and listening to all his material.
Yeah.
Because he just had finished Diamond Dogs.
And it was station to station. Obviously, it's sonically, it's a progression. Is that very much made clear from the outset, or when you're coming into the studio, is it kind of a little bit more of a collaborative thing that ends up the album comes out the way it does through collectively?
Most of the records that he does, and any ones that I've done with him, they're on the fly. You know, Young Americans was the only one that I can remember that was planned. He wanted to do like a Philly soul kind of.
Yeah.
And that's why I hired Luther Vandross to get the singers. We did a lot of recording at Sigma Sound. You know, he wanted that. But that was the only one. The rest of them really on the fly. I mean, especially station to station. He hadn't written hardly anything over there.
Wow. Is there apprehension over something like that, or is it just like, no, we've got the call?
It was just normal.
Okay. Yeah.
Totally normal.
And I guess
all the weird shit that people hear at the time, it's just normal.
Yeah, that was just
you don't think about it.
You know that you're going.
And plus, also back then, this probably has to do with social media and places we're going. There's no such thing as yes or no or black and white. Everybody overthinks every frickin'. We didn't do that. If it felt good, it was done.
Yeah.
That was it. That G on that third verse, and it's a little bent out of tune. Oh, give me a break.
Yeah.
We didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, even with the songs, I mean, the title track, The Station, is 3 chunks from 3 different things that he wrote that he didn't know what to do with. So somehow we just jammed on them and we glued the track together, and, you know.
From that period, was there anything that was sort of left on the cutting room floor that you thought, oh, wow, it would be great if that came out as something?
Somebody said there was, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not from that one. Chunks of Young Americans have showed up over the years. There's like a couple of Bruce Springsteen songs that we did. One of them I did, the other one Ronnie Wood did. And I think eventually they ended up getting released.
Yeah.
There was, that one, there was some cutting room floor stuff. And I think on some of the later ones, there definitely is. There's more. But non-station, because we went straight through it. It was done.
But to, speak to your versatility, I mean, when you get to like an album like Heathen, drastically different from what was going on in the 1970s.
Well, with Heathen, me and David had a great relationship, but there were times where all of a sudden we just wouldn't be working together and there would be no reason for it. Back and forth for 40-something years.
Yeah.
So he kept talking and talking. I'm going to make a record. And that's happening. So I get a call from this big artist in Japan. So I shoot off to Japan for 3 months, do this major tour. So I'm only on a few of the tracks on Heathen. I'm on all of Toy, which finally got released for real a couple of years ago. And then when I first got back at the band in '99, I was back on my tellies again.
Right.
And he said, Slicky, you know what? We need the Les Pauls on a lot of this stuff. So I got some Les Pauls.
Just being open to being...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even when we did Station to Station, I mean, we pushed the envelope on a lot of those overdubs. And he knew what I did. I mean, I died in the wool blues rock and roll player,
Yeah.
But he said, I can take that and do something with it. And he did.
Absolutely. Look, something you do incredibly, Earl, is you're fantastic at knowing when to leave space, whether it's a rhythm part, whether it's a lead part. You just seem to have that instinctive ability to let music breathe. Is it you just born with it, or can you learn it?
don't know if you can learn that. Maybe you can. I don't know. I didn't learn it. It's natural because as I'm playing with people, I'll hear something and I'll lay out or I'll play just a note. And I do tend to play sort of rhythm and lead things at the same time, kind of, And laying out is great. It's gotta breathe. It's gotta breathe, man.
Yeah.
And that's the trick to it too. Because the last we did when after David died, I came over to the UK with a band with Bernard Fowler from the Stones singing. We did the Station to Station record, top to bottom, in the UK and Japan. And then David died, and then in 2018 and 19, we had a lot of the original band with Bernard and a few other singers, and on the second leg of that, I had Charlie Sexton, and best fucking guitar partner I've ever had. You want to talk about space? We could read each other. We knew when to lay out, when to play. I mean, sometimes I'd lay out half a song, and then we would go back and forth. It was wonderful. That's instinct, total instinct.
Yeah.
I did that with Sanborn when he was in the band with the sax and the guitar against each other. I learned a lot of that from David Sanborn before we were in Bowie's band. We were playing together.
What would you say over the years has been the most challenging record for you to make?
Oh, the ones I don't like. The ones that I can't name names, but I've been hired by people that hired me because of the name value, but not when I did. So when I got there, they expected something completely different. And most of the time I ended up working for a day and leaving. Not because the guy was being an asshole, was because it's so out of my range that I'm going, maybe I can do if it ain't gonna sound right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just yesterday, when obviously Larry Carlton's here as well for the event, and we were speaking with him. He was saying on the John Lennon album that he was called in for, he just felt he wasn't the right guy, and then stepped away. So it's
Who's calling in?
Larry Carlton.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, on Rock and Roll, and anyway, he worked today there.
I know why John hired me, because Jack Douglas told me, because everybody else in that room could read. I mean, Huey McCracken, my guitar player, I love Huey. He was so good, man. Tori Levin, Andy Numero. These guys could all read. I didn't know Master Mahoney around. I knew as much as John did.
Yeah.
He wanted a street rock and roll player that didn't know any of that shit, and that's why I got the gig. And I guess he remembered from us working with Bowie.
He knew that sound and wanted.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming fantastic experience.
Yeah, and I had pretty much free range on that thing.
Okay.
John wasn't like, pointing at people. He's just looking for a good take.
I noticed that you posted your happy birthday to Noel Gallagher.
Yeah.
You guys sound like you go back a little bit. What, what's your experiences with Noel?
Somehow, my marriage that I had like a long time ago, some reason, Noel wanted to get in touch with me. And we've been pen pals like for years.
Yeah.
And
I've just been handed to the forwards here.
Yeah.
From
yeah, we chat once in a while. I actually did start working on a track for the album we did during the pandemic.
Oh.
But I was in New York. He was here, and I couldn't get what I wanted because I think with somebody like Noel, I'd have to be in a room with them for the magic,
Yeah.
And sometimes, like if somebody sends me, it depends on the artist. There's an artist called Killer Star that I work here, and he sent me files, and it works good with him. But Noel, it was a different thing. I felt like, what? I'm not happy this day, and I could feel it. Either one of us, and I had just gotten back from England, and nowhere I was coming back because the pandemic was in full swing. So once in a while there's an email here and there.
So down the line we might see a collaboration if you guys can get in the room together.
Who knows? I mean, because one of the reasons I love coming over here is that I usually stay in a neighborhood where a lot of the guys live, and everybody. I walk outside and some of my buddies are out there having coffee. I get off the plane. and go to eat a coffee, and I'm running to Weller and Johnny Marr. I mean, it's that used to be New York.
Yeah.
It's not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I love when I'm in London. I go out and the guys are there. I look at Weller as an innovator and one of the best and a great performer and makes great records. But I mean, it's, in the States, I mean, I don't know how well he does there, but I do know one thing. Ain't nobody that doesn't know who he is and never love him.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
I mean, same thing here. You mentioned his name. People love him.
Well, look, talking about all this collaborations and music, it's been a minute since we had a new solo album from yourself. Are we going to hear some new music soon?
I got some stuff in the can, and I've also been getting ideas
Yeah.
at home. In between my dog howling every time I play. Oh my God. I pick up he just starts to sing. So if I'm being serious about writing something, I'd put some headphones on or something.
You got to.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance maybe in the next couple of years.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I can't not do another one. I can't. You know, I mean, I can tell something's going on because all of a sudden they start doing artwork again. That's always the thing. I just made some new straps myself, and I make my own belts, and I've been doing my own beadwork. Okay. And then all of a sudden when I'm picking my guitar up, I'm not just noodling, shit's starting to happen. Yes. It was always the curse of the second record of rock bands back in the day. Because you had a whole lifetime to write the first one. And then it's a hit, and then you got 2 months to spit one out, and then you're dead in the water.
Yeah. But having said that, you've been put on the spot a lot of times, and you've just got to deliver, and you've done.
Oh, David Bowie used to love to put my ass on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you know, the Serious Moonlight tour, Jesus Christ, Stevie Vaughan's gone.
Yeah.
I'm there like the next day with a 3-hour show, and I'm like, okay, you know, I did it. I did it, but it was definitely a brain drain.
And was it one of those ones the call comes in and it's like, here's the date you got to be there, do you want it or not?
You just go. You just go. You know, there's certain people you do that with. Because with David, it wasn't a job to me. It wasn't a gig. It was something else. There was a connection there. It wasn't just a gig. You know, I've done tours with people before. It's a gig. You know, it's what we do for a living.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, you get a decent artist, it's a gig, it's fine, you get paid. But it wasn't the same thing with David. It was a whole different ballgame.
You know, played so many shows from, you know, small vibey clubs to stadiums. Has there been any moments on shows that have just been like, everything's just going wrong?
Well, hell yeah.
What's an example of that?
The going wrong stuff always turned out to be funny. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, no, some weird shit has happened. We're in Florida, and at a theater, an old theater in Miami, and the dressing rooms are underneath the stage of this old place, and we hear this crash, and we think the sound system fell over. Tour manager comes down, white as a sheet. I guess one of the local riggers who wasn't supposed to be there, we had 30 feet up at the lights, and he wasn't strapped in, and he went down, and that was the noise, and it was 2 feet from my amp. Show over, police, everything. That stuff like that didn't really happen. It would be David. We'd start off. We were doing, I think it was Quicksand one night or something. So me and Jerry Leonard go over acoustics, and we're playing every game. We're playing it. Fucking David's just standing there. What the hell's going on? He goes, so he goes, I forgot the fucking words. He goes, look. She goes to the audience, look, we'll do this one later tonight. That shit would happen. Or, I mean, you do songs, it's so weird. A song you've done 1,000 times, all of a sudden it goes blank. And that would happen a few times. You know, he would do it with words. I would come off stage like one night, I forgot we were doing Hang On to Yourself or something. And my brain went somewhere. And I don't know what the hell I was doing. And he goes, what the fuck was that? I said, I don't know. And we would just start laughing. And one night, and then the Let's Dance one's great. So in the dressing room one night, he's going, Slicky, what's going on? Let's dance. I'm not, you know. I said, I'm sick of the fucking thing. I hate it. I don't want to play it anymore. Because you know what? I'm sick of it too. He takes that out of the set. I couldn't help it. It was like Tourette's. I just blurted out, I hate this fucking song. And the biggest hit he's had, right?
For sure. Well, that's it.
That's the one that took him from arenas to stadiums. The 83 tours, all stadiums for the most part.
Pleasure.
Hey,
Thank you.